The county of Worcestershire really is a fabulous place to live. From the vibrant cathedral city of Worcester to the wonderful lifestyle of countryside living at its very best. At RJ Country Homes, we specialise in selling village and country properties across this glorious county. And, together with property industry experts, we will be giving you some top tips and expert advice about moving home and guiding you along the way.
The EPC is calculated based on the property that you're living in. It's very specific to your property and takes into account how it was built, when it was built, changed, added to, and when those additions were made, what sort of boiler you have, lights you've got, how thick are your walls. It's a long list.
When you sell your property, you need a valid EPC in place. So if you actually haven't got one and there's not one on the register, then you have to commission one preferably before you go on the market, but you've got a little time. You also need an EPC if you're going to let out your property. There are some minimum requirements for EPCs for rentals. There isn't any for selling your property, but if you're going to rent out a home, it needs to meet the minimum standards, which is a rating of E. We're finding that when people are going for remortgaging, then the mortgage lenders are very cagey. They really want an EPC in place and to make sure that there is one to meet the minimum requirements. They do last 10 years at the moment. I mean, those lengths have changed over a period of 10 years, but at the moment, currently it's 10 years. That may change in the future, but yes, the validity is up to year 10.
There are a number of things that you can do, and first and foremost, go and refer to the EPC that you've already got. On there will be a list of steps that you can take to improve the rating of your property. Take advisement. We can always help with a quick chat over the telephone, and we'll pull up a copy of your EPC and give you some ideas. But it could be as simple as making a percentage difference to take you from one band to the other by replacing all your light bulbs for LED. Simple as that. Could be that you may need to change the boiler, and then you've got to think, is it worth it when I'm selling the house and leaving? Would I get that return on investment on the price of the house, or shall I just leave it to the new people coming in?
Generally speaking, Grade 2 listed buildings that are on the English Heritage site are exempt from having an EPC. It is a bit of a grey area, however, I have to say, because although you don't actually require one, it is advised that you do have one if you're trying to rent out a property, because there are rules about passing the EPC information on to tenants, so you would have to have one commissioned. It is felt they're exempt. It's stated they're exempt because it would cost too much to upgrade listed properties on the recommendations, and so it wouldn't be worth it, and it would considerably change the look and the character of the property. So at the moment they are exempt. Yes, well, an EPC is a calculation of the area of the property, the size of the property, and the volume. So we have to take our measurements on its height.
Yeah.
And then we have to take into consideration what's different from the actual original build. So when we go into a property, we are actually drawing a floor plan, which is why the floor plan and the EPCs melt so well with our business, because you have to produce sketches to produce your calculation and maths on. And so while we're going around the property, when we arrive at the property, we're taking photography work, but it's not with a big camera like you would for a brochure. It's a little Instamatic camera where you are taking evidence of your data. So you have to prove how you've made your decision. So you have to submit your little photographs and say, well, this house looked like this from that side, this side and the back. And then as we're going around, we're taking photographs of the electric and gas meters, the boiler flue outputs. We're looking at what sort of floor it is, because we can tell from the outside whether it's a solid floor or a timber floor. In more modern properties, not so much really old solid builds, but anything that's cavity wall, we can tell if it's been retrofilled. So that's if it's had the cavity wall insulation put in from the outside of the building. And obviously we're looking to see what the extensions are like. And then we get to the big things like the boiler. So we need access to the boiler. If it's a regular boiler, which means it's got a water tank, then obviously it's advisable to make sure that that is exposed so that we can take a full height photograph, because we have to measure the depth of the insulation, we have to check that there's a pump, and we have to check that there's a thermostat and what we call the immersions as well. And then eventually you work up the house like that, and you look at the showers, because a mixer shower can make a difference than a normal electric shower. And then we end up in the loft. So we as people go into lofts probably 2 or 3 times a day, and we just go up and we have a look, and we have to take a photograph of the party wall to determine what sort of the insulation properties there are. We have to take measurements of the height of the insulation, and we have to show it physically on a measure tape, and then we take shots around the loft because they want to see what's there, that we haven't missed anything. Occasionally we are a bit unlucky and find that the water cylinder might be down the loft over there. So if there is no access to a hot water tank, hot water, then we have to say there is no access, and it will lower your rating by about 3 or 4%.